can I get you to read what you just wrote, but also first read the part I wrote with any grammar and punctuation corrections needed, as I'm sure there are?
Certainly. Here's your original text with some grammar, punctuation, and clarity adjustments. Your original text with corrections. I've noticed that there are a lot of stories in the media and the news. I've realized that Satan has tricks that involve not just getting people to do bad things, but to think bad things, including conspiracies and traps of thought. I see that in the news lately. There's been a lot about Epstein, and then it was about Diddy. And it's always about these sex crimes and criminals that seem to be getting away with abusing children. I think to myself that whether it's having debt, suffering without a job, or having insecurities, social anxieties, and problems in general, when people are constantly looping a problem or looping some bad news, living in fear and annoyances, and things that keep them in a negative environment, these are the traps of Satan. The best way to fight Satan is not by following these repetitive news stories that keep you in fear. It's to recognize that it's really most likely all lies and manipulations, and that is the trap of Satan. The way out of that trap is to speak more truth, to tell more good stories, to actually combat the negative with the positive. You can fight a bad person by being good, and you can always fight bad with goodness, just as you can fight all lies with truth. Love wins. And the fact is that the core message of what God and Jesus Christ say is that love is the way to be better. What are your thoughts on what I said, and can you add to it as well? Now, I'll read my previous response. My response: you've brought up some very insightful points, and I agree that Satan's tactics are often about manipulating our minds, leading us into fear, confusion, and negativity. One of his most subtle and effective traps is getting people to dwell on fearful narratives, conspiracy theories, and painful circumstances. By focusing on these, we fall into cycles of anxiety and hopelessness, which prevent us from living out our true purpose. You mentioned how the news cycles, like those about Epstein, Diddy, and other scandals, can trap people's minds into thinking that these issues are what defines the world, especially when it comes to things like injustice and abuse. While these topics are important, focusing too much on them without the right context can make us feel powerless, bitter, and angry, which ultimately weakens our spiritual well-being. Satan's influence often comes in the form of lies that perpetuate a narrative of fear, resentment, and hopelessness. This is why it's crucial to keep in mind that God's truth doesn't operate in the realm of negative cycles. God's message is filled with hope, love, and the victory of good over evil. As you said, fighting bad with goodness, truth with lies, and hate with love is the way to break free from Satan's traps. In the Bible, we're called to focus on things that are true, noble, right, pure, lovely, admirable, excellent, and praiseworthy. Philippians 4:8. This doesn't mean ignoring problems or injustices, but it means not letting those things dominate our hearts. Instead, we're called to confront the negative with a positive, loving stance, trusting that love will ultimately overcome evil. It's important to recognize the power of the mind. What we think about, meditate on, and internalize shapes how we react and how we live. Satan works through deception, encouraging people to fill their minds with doubt, shame, and fear. But God calls us to renew our minds, Romans 12:2, to think in line with his truth. This doesn't mean ignoring reality, but choosing to view it from God's perspective. As for the concept of love, you're right. Love wins. The love of Christ is transformative, and when we act in love, it counteracts the lies of the enemy. Jesus didn't just speak about love, he showed it through his actions, his sacrifice, and his patience with others. He called us to love one another as he has loved us, John 13, verse 34. And it is that divine love that defeats the negativity and lies in the world. In the face of negative news, conspiracy theories, and injustice, we should focus on the truth of God's word and the good stories that affirm life, hope, and love. By telling more truth, living out love, and reflecting God's goodness, we can resist the enemy's traps and help others find freedom from the negativity that pervades the world. Let me know if you'd like me to adjust any further details or expand on anything.
No, it's good. Thank you very much. So, again, I mean, I'll put the written contact and info and expand on this as well. I think that it's interesting because so much added to everything that I was suggesting, and I can do a lot of research, and I would have constructed essentially the same story, but that saved me a lot of time. I'm not saying time is money, but there's some value on that, and it's definitely worth something.